Wow, well, welcome back to Podcast Bozo, where a few knuckleheads, that's us, learn new things each week with you, our listeners. Today, we are talking about cancel culture, aka call-out culture, social shaming, contextual bleaching, making up for mistakes, and hopefully after that, we will come to a conclusion on the right approach to deal with celebrity missteps and missteps of our own. Today, on Season 3, Episode 8, I can't even believe we're here. I'm here with Eli, our resident artist, Cheek, our certified beer server, and I'm JJ, but you can call me Hagen Rupert Stubius. Before we put the pedal to the metal, we want to encourage you to contribute to the conversation, communicate with us over the social medias, or our website. I'm a little lost, Cheek. How can they find us?
If you're lost, have no fear. We're going to find you. You're going to find us. It's going to be great. Follow us at Podcast Bozo. That's at PODCASTBOZO on Twitter, on Instagram. Reach out, participate. If you're on Spotify or if you're on Apple, I should say, leave us a 5-star review. All right. If it's anything less than, I don't want to hear it, but leave 5 stars and write whatever you want. Maybe if we find some funny, some interesting reviews, we'll read them live during the next recorded show, and that'll be fun. But that's at Podcast Bozo. Can't wait.
Booyah. And speaking of our website, go there, donate, or read whatever you write in the donation message. Write a little backstory. Not sure what that means. Donate to find out. Please, that money all goes back into production, distribution of the podcast. Thank you very much. Gentlemen, Cheek, how you doing today?
Ooh.
Anything big this week?
Ooh. It's been an exciting week, a lot of development. Hopefully I'll have some news to share with the folks within the month, I'll say. I don't want to get a little ahead of myself, but some development happening.
Share with the folks. You pregnant?
Share with the folks. I'm expecting.
You
Not
engaged?
a kid, but some other news.
I'm expecting something.
You'll just have to tune in to find out.
You got a special guest, not on the podcast, but staying with you in your apartment this week. How's that going?
Our good friend Devanos has just come back from Santa's barbershop and is staying at our place. Looking to have some fun. It's my birthday on Saturday, and that's some big stuff. I'm debating right now whether to suck 25 chili dogs or the same chili dog 25 times.
Is that in honor of your 25th birthday?
In honor of my 25th birthday, yes.
Well, you tell us which one. We'll make whatever happens happen. Awesome. Goodness gracious, we got Rob's going to be there later this podcast episode in Studio Denver. We've got the infamous Hip and his big beef might swing through. He might swing through, pop his head and say hi, check in on the listeners. We won't give him too long, so don't worry. But we're hoping for something of that sort to happen.
He's demolished half of Denver at this point with his trailer
big
parks.
Beef. He came into town to set up his first mobile home park here.
Sorry, Castle Rock.
You got demolished, Dad.
Delort. Outside of that, we also have Cheek is doing, I think, what's our last challenge of the Amazon reviews this week. It's the last Amazon review challenge we have going, so stay to the end for that. That's something new we're doing. We're not splitting it up. We're saving it to the end. And a new special thing is we have a very special listener that gave us a great new topic idea. I'm not even going to attempt to say his name. Actually, I will. Negukun Arts.
Negukun Arts.
Yeah. And he's definitely in the artist industry. He wanted us to look into how art can be suppressed through social media, and that's a very specific example. And Negukun, I'm sorry if we don't take this the exact way you want. But how we took this was that like cancel culture and like this interesting aspect of how everyone seems to be so willing to jump on people because they made a mistake, especially the mistakes in the past. We'll get into that more.
Or shame them into not into doing something that they didn't originally want to do.
Yeah, and Cheek, I'll get into that in a second, but thank you for the suggestion.
We're painting in broad strokes here.
Yeah, at the beginning, we're gonna go a little broader. If you have an issue with how we took this, rate us 1 star, and then message us, and we will correct it if we missed it a little bit. And we'd love, if there is another story to this, we'd love to hear it and we'd love to tell it. So thank you. And we're starting to get a lot of listener topic ideas that we really like, and we have some lined up. So thank y'all, as they say. And keep an eye on that deodorant stick if you're watching on YouTube. Whoever can guess the right amount of times E will lather up his pits, we'll give you that many smooches, however many smooches you want. But yeah, Cheek, back to what you were saying. When you think of cancel culture, what are your initial thoughts?
I'm trying to think of an example that I like of somebody in. I think, didn't we come pretty close to canceling Neil deGrasse Tyson? Oh, aren't we in the process of canceling Andrew Cuomo right now?
What for? I haven't heard that one.
He's being accused of
is that because of the hospital
harassment.
bed stuff?
The hospital bed and sexual
really?
harassment.
Ooh. Yeah.
But interestingly enough, in that example,
why don't you like him?
The person who's who is claiming the sexual harassment charges is also, I would say, on a political trajectory to compete with him one day. Which, I'm not creating any excuses. If he did those things, shame on Cuomo. I'm just, it's yet to be proven, and I just want to, I try to explore all sides of the story. If it was a fabricated story, it would be a good time to fabricate such a story to start to discredit this person that you eventually want to see lose power.
Fair enough. Yeah, it's one of those things where, I don't know.
We think we like to think of conspiracies here, and that's where my mind starts to go.
Fair enough. Yeah, I don't. That's a tough subject because, like, I think the right thing overall to do is just believe it until it is proven true or false. Because just statistically, you're going to be right. Like, overwhelmingly, you're going to be right. But I get what you're saying, Cheek. It's like there's two sides.
It's and tricky. I think that will come up. It also goes against how our our judicial system is set up, our policing system. Innocent until proven guilty, right?
Yeah, it's tough. Who's innocent? Who's guilty in that situation? Because a lot of people accuse the victim as being guilty of trying to get attention.
Yeah.
So
I don't know.
I don't know. Well, let's move on from that. That's such a tricky situation.
Andrew Cuomo right now.
Yeah, weigh in if you're a listener. That's a tricky one. I like to hear people's perspective on that. That's I don't know.
We canceled Aziz Ansari a while ago for the same thing. Tried to.
Right, and I think there's it's not black and white like we talked about last week. There's a gray structure to this that I think is the proper way to deal with it. And Aziz might be a good example. Not Aziz, but there are some people that are a good example of how you can learn from your mistakes and maybe come back. But E, what do you think about when I know you've immersed yourself recently, so you might have a poignant, you might have more information relevant in your head right now. But what was if you can remember back to a time before when you were still naive and young, what did cancel culture mean to you?
Cancel culture. Well, I've got my take on it. I don't know if I want to play my cards just yet.
Yeah, hold back. If you have bazooka cannons, just wait on them. Just wait to launch those big guys at us. But
for the sake of introducing the topic, can I say what I believe to be cancel culture in a more broad term?
Yeah,
I was just trying to provide examples there.
No, that's good.
Yeah, so I think that cancel culture is this thing that when something happens in the public eye that a group of people deem to be unacceptable, they attack said thing on social media, shaming them, and then the rest of society gets to weigh in and decide, yeah, that's fucked up. Let's shame the hell out of that, and you cancel it by just shaming somebody and making an example of how somebody did something bad or something wasn't okay that happened. And it's just group cyber bullying and shaming, maybe for a good reason. It's very possible that it was for a good reason, but that's how I understand cancel culture.
There's an idea of justice that plays into it. We kind of talked about what is something that someone deserves in the past. And we've been lately building off our old topics. So if you need some context, go back and listen to all our other episodes.
You freaking dingus.
But Lana, so I wanted to go through some examples of cancels in this year, and then we'll go into a little more in depth. Cheek, I appreciate you giving that, and I feel like you're getting into the next section of the outline that I have laid out, and there's no right way to talk about this, so we'll just assume that mine's the wrong way, but we're gonna do it. So people canceled in 2020. We got Lana Del Rey. She was accused of her songs not empowering women, and her reaction to it was shouting out at a lot of other women and saying that they also don't do that. And people were like, well, we'll get into like the right way to deal with this, but like people are like, you didn't apologize. You just divert. You try to divert.
Well, if I'm doing this, like they're doing it too.
Yeah.
That type of like middle school thing.
Yeah. Does it make it better that they're doing it?
They started it?
Yeah, they started it.
That's
exactly.
an interesting one. Can we talk about this for a second?
Sure.
I hate that. Like, she's an artist. She can put out whatever she wants to put out as far as her own art. Just because she's a woman putting out art doesn't mean her art or her product needs to empower other women. How dare you make music that doesn't empower other women? That's fucking ridiculous.
I think we'll get to this down the line, but I think my take is when you have this much influence, it's important to be a good role model. And if you're not a good role model, people will call you out for that. And part of my take on cancel culture is like the backlash can only go so far. Like Lana Del Rey is going to keep making music. This isn't stopping her, but it's just like calling her attention to, hey, maybe you should be a good role model. Yeah, she can keep creating whatever she wants, but like if you're going to be an influencer and reach millions of people, like, lift them up, send a positive message.
Well, the thing I don't know. I don't think there should be an obligation there.
I'm in the middle of you two on this one. Usually were when you became a singer. If your goal when you became a singer was to be famous, then I think you have a responsibility as a famous person to set a good example. I think sometimes people are just good singers and they get notarized for it and they didn't ask for the fame. And so maybe they don't owe anyone a responsibility. It's even more potent for athletes who were, this was a way out of a situation. They were just really a good athlete. And the only way to make money off of being a good athlete is also being famous, And so they get put in a tough situation where like, I just love the sport. And now all of a sudden every word I say is being hung on. But yeah, I don't know. I feel like we got too deep in this. I just want to kind of rush through these. Maybe we can log these examples in our heads as I go through them, because I want to, Cheek, like in that situation, I want to hear right away your gut reaction to that. But so I don't know who Lea Michele is, but this year, she's the Glee lady. Oh.
Heyo.
Wow. It didn't take long. So basically it says things got worse when other co-stars shared their experiences with Michelle and they were not good. She was basically found out to be like very hard to work with and tough. And I think that's an interesting, so some of these are going to be interesting examples to lead into conversations later because there's different levels of atrocity, so to speak. That's a dramatic word, but it's important to note that there's different ways, and sometimes I think our society handles them all the same way, and I think that can be an issue. Jimmy Fallon, this one surprised me. Do you guys remember this happening?
No clue. I'm surprised to see his name.
So in 2000, when he was on SNL, he did blackface and impersonated Chris Rock. And he apologized. And he was like, he just flat out said, "I'm sorry." And I view Jimmy Fallon as a good person. He seems like he's always doing the right things. To me, tell me if I'm wrong. Seems like a joyous person with a good family. He doesn't seem like there's any blemishes on his record. So that might play into the context of this. But his flat out apology for me serves better than the Lana Del Rey deflection. He apologized. He said, in 2000, when on SNL, I made a terrible decision due to an impersonation of Chris Rock while in blackface, which is the biggest issue, obviously. There is no excuse for this. I'm very sorry for making this unquestionably offensive decision, and thank all for holding me accountable. That's a good apology, at least. It doesn't maybe make up for it. But going on, we got Doja Cat. She took part in racist chat rooms. We got Vanessa Hudgens. Didn't like it when a festival was canceled due to the pandemic, and she was basically saying that if everyone gets it, that's okay. We should still hold it. Yeah, it's tough call.
Not a good look.
Yeah, J.K. Rowling is a known transphobic person. I was surprised that one happened in 2020 because that's this list.
Yeah,
yeah, she's super transphobic.
Is she? That's insane. That surprises me, especially with how, I guess not outright, but like she wrote in, gay roles for her characters in Harry Potter. It surprises, and I feel like you think that somebody,
right? If you're
people that go along,
you're pro-gay, you can probably assume pro-LGBT
isn't too far to jump.
She's notably progressive. Yeah,
supportive
it's surprising.
Of trans
like
people.
I was surprised when I heard it too. Like I saw that.
Yes.
And I had to do a ton of research. I didn't want to believe it. I was just flabbergasted that she fell in that category. Cuz she's very good for women. She's very outspoken. I follow her on Twitter just to keep a tab. When people get controversial, I start following them on Twitter.
Right.
Because that's
Stay in the loop.
That's where things get interesting too, But yeah, I follow her. She's it's like she draws this hard line. It's crazy. Demi Lovato, hashtag Demi is over party. People thought they found a fake account of Demi Lovato. I'm just reading this verbatim that she used to make fun of Selena Gomez. There was no evidence it was her account, but the internet was quick to cancel the singer and it was all over the headlines. Interesting. Use that motorcycle running by. But that's an interesting one because I think based on how, given that we don't have a ton of context on this, and that's another issue with a lot of cancel culture, but taking this for the paragraph that it is, it sounds like she got canceled quick. People were too quick to the draw. Sebastian Stan. I was surprised to hear this one because Disney's going all in on Sebastian Stan. They're doing the whole thing. He was canceled because his girlfriend did something. And she had a caption called like Asian Night. And it was kind of a racist caption. Not kind of, it was a racist caption. So that's another, we're seeing really all the variations of how someone can get canceled here. And then there's Ellen DeGeneres. She is, as far as I know, the biggest one this year. This is just one list. I just wanted to get it had a good representation of all types of being canceled. She has been known now for being very different off screen. Like she's Dory in Finding Nemo. She's this joyous like talk show host, even though she has like a dry sense of humor.
Very popular image.
Yeah, popular image. I love her. I like her like in front of the camera personality, but there have been so many reports now of people saying like there's videos too of her like screaming at people and being like just really mean to people, like Christian Bale-esque, like behind the scenes, like yelling. And did Portia even come out with? Is she splitting with Portia, her wife?
Oh, I have no idea. I actually didn't even know Ellen DeGeneres was on here. This is the first time I'm hearing of it.
Yeah,
I'm not in the loop on any of these really.
Yeah, she was canceled. She's one of those where I think because Ellen her show's still on. I think it just they like pushed it back. So E's gonna at some point talk about like how he doesn't think cancel culture is actually
cancel culture is a thing.
Yeah, which is an interesting take. I'm excited to talk about it. So yeah, that's just kind of rundown. Sorry for holding everyone back on their opinions on these individual cancellations. We will get to them. Don't you worry. We will be there in 1 second. So I wanted to talk about history of cancel culture. It's very biased history. And not biased. It's a closed scope history because, as one of our friends pointed out, like you could talk about people being exiled from their countries in like the Napoleon Bonaparte days, as a cancel culture. So there's, and I think E might vouch for this too later, is that canceling has been around forever. It's just the form and the I don't know, the volume of like voices calling for this cancel is different, and the visibility of it all. So I wanted to discuss the side of cancel culture. Earlier on, we talked about what your early on ideas of cancel culture are, your current ideas. Now I want us to take sides. Cheek, gun to your head. Is cancel culture a good thing or not?
No.
Why not?
Oh, I don't know. Just seemed like the right thing to say in the moment. I think.
I don't know, dude. I had a gun to my freaking head.
Yeah,
I had to say something.
You're gonna blow my brains out, dude.
Saving my own life.
You know, I think that there's good intention, but I think that it's actually really non-productive way to be critical of somebody. So this is something that I wanted to talk about when you talked about the Jimmy Fallon one. So
okay.
Jimmy Fallon was canceled for having done something in the year 2003. That's almost 20 years. That's almost 20 years ago.
No, he was canceled this year over something he did in 2000.
Yeah.
Okay.
That he did something over 20 years ago. I'm sure anybody who is 40 years old, you know, I'm 26 right now. 20 years ago, I was a 6-year-old, so I don't think I'm a good example. If you're 40 years, I'm sure that everybody has done stuff that they're not proud of or that they regret or that now is socially not acceptable. I don't think that you can go 20 years into the past of somebody's past to, you know, deem them cancelable now. That's bullshit. Like, I think that most of the public probably knows Jimmy Fallon's not a racist. But what was acceptable in comedy to do then is way different than what's acceptable to do in comedy now. You can't go after the guy for what he did in the year 2000. That's bullshit. That's a group of people seeking attention just for their own vanity. That's not actually productive cancel culture. It's a load of horse shit.
I respect that viewpoint. E, I want to give you a shot at, first of all, taking a side on cancel culture, and then going back to Sean's point.
Sure. On cancel culture, I would, like I said before, I don't think it is a real thing. I think it's been around forever. But playing off what Cheek said with Jimmy Fallon, I think if I had a gun in my head, I would say, you know, it's not a black and white question. It's mixed. That it does do good, but it is also weaponized by some people, like for bad purposes. And it's weird talking about celebrities and cancel culture. I feel like it's like a weird puppet show because we're arguing about, are we treating successful people fairly? And I mean, like, there's tons of people who don't have it fair. But anyways, like with Jimmy Fallon, another example that comes to mind is Kevin Hart and how he was supposed to,
the Oscars
he's supposed to perform at the Oscars.
He's supposed to host it.
Because years ago he made a gay joke. They canceled him for that. Something like that. Yeah, I'm very out of the loop of pop culture, and like I didn't recognize any of the things that were going on. So I'm sorry if I'm out of touch with this.
Well, I think it puts an interesting perspective in it because you don't have a horse in the race. Like you're looking at this objectively.
Mm-hmm.
I just wanted to put that out there, but go ahead.
But yeah, those are my thoughts. I think it's weird to take something away from someone because of something they did in the past. Like I used to say like, oh, that's so gay, like back in middle school and all that. And now I realize, like, now I know that's so wrong and I'm advocating for all the proper things.
Or the R word, like, for like the derogatory term for mentally challenged.
I think it's about what you are going to do and say today and the message you're going to spread and not about the example you set in the past. So like, it's one thing if Jimmy Fallon was like, there's nothing wrong. Like arguing like there's nothing wrong back then, like that was 20 years ago. Like it doesn't sound like he's changed his mind. And then that would be worrisome.
And I'm with you on that. I think this state of the way they apologize and whether or not they apologize, excuse me, I think that makes a difference in how their recovery seems, or even if it's perceived as a problem afterwards. Because me being altruistic is the right word, like hopeful in our society, wants to think that everyone can hear a good apology, listen to someone say they want to grow, and watch them grow and be okay with it. Do you think that I'll direct this one at Sean just for the sake of diversity. Do you think that people do that? Do you think people in general, if they hear a good apology or what I would consider a good apology, do you think the common public is forgiving?
I don't think
common public, more than 50%.
I don't think forgiving is necessarily the right word. I think they let you off the hook. I think they just kind of drop it. Like they got the response they wanted. Like, oh, Jimmy Fallon admitted he was an asshole. Exactly. Got him. And then let's move on to the next one. I don't think it's like, thank you so much, Jimmy Fallon. Like what you said really means a lot to us. And, now we believe that you can be our favorite late night host again. Like that's not the case, because I think that people use these issues that are sensitive and do matter, but they shame people in a way that's also cruel. It's not like, it just doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah.
The people who are canceling them when they receive their apology, like, I don't know. Like, do you think the people, like the big influencers who are on Twitter and who are on Instagram, because those are the people that are, starting to cancel, probably these super tight-knit groups of hypercritical people. Do you think that in their message boards, they're like, or in their chat rooms, they're like, did you see what Jimmy said? Thank you. No, they're not like that.
Yeah.
Because they're not actually looking for an apology. They're just looking for the attention that comes from canceling someone.
They want to head on a spike, is what you're saying?
That might be presumptuous, but I don't know.
I mean, I'm sure that. Well, listen, nothing's black and white. There are pieces. Hey, we know that. There are pieces of people, like there are parts where people feel that way for sure. But I wouldn't say that that's the majority, and I don't know what the majority is. I think there are also people. There are definitely people who are quick to forgive and say, "Oh, I think they said the right thing." There are also people who think they didn't do anything wrong, they shouldn't say anything. And then there are people, and I'm one of these people, who says their actions should prove it.
Yeah,
because they can say all this, but I'm not going to believe shit until they actually think on it, and what they do after in the spotlight shows that they thought on that and that they are now, doing the right thing in their belief.
Yeah. I like that perspective too. It's like you can say something, that's one thing, and there's a right way to make your apology. But like it's kind of like going back to the kid in high school that you thought was an asshole. And it's like, I'm willing to forgive and forget you being an asshole in high school as long as you're not an asshole right now.
Right.
Yeah. It's
They
like,
could be like, yo, sorry for bullying you all those years and giving you all those noogies. Like, can we be friends now?
Again.
Yeah. And you're like, yeah, sure, I forgive you. And then they start treating you like shit again and say, you fat fucking loser. Like, I'm going to gouge your eye out. Like, whoa.
Hey, don't
you said
bully
you're
me.
over that.
I thought we said we stopped that. But yeah, it's true. Like your actions, ultimately your actions have to display the change. And that act in Jimmy Fallon's case, it's not better. That instance of that act is not better because he apologized. That didn't change. That isn't all of a sudden, oh, it's not bad that he did that anymore. What I'm hoping people are looking for is that acknowledgement of change. And I think that's a good example that someone could make to everyone else when you do make a mistake that you move forward. Do you guys think there's a difference between when someone makes a mistake now and when we discover that someone made a mistake in today's standards, but 10 years ago? Is there a difference between those two things? So like there was an example of Drew Brees saying Blue Lives Matter, something like that. A lot of people tried to cancel him. And then there's the example of Jimmy Fallon where he'd made that mistake 21 years ago. Are one of those things better than the other? The Drew Brees thing was this year.
One better.
Is one worse, I guess, is actually what I'm trying to ask.
Yes.
Yeah, what's your take, Cheek?
I think that given today's culture and hypersensitivity, if you're somebody like, it's only worse because we are aware of how people think now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Compared to back then, like it's just as awful what Jimmy Fallon did, but like at the time that he did that, there was a much different vibe going on. Which isn't to say what he did was okay, but the way that the public responded to it is much different. Drew Brees probably knew before he said Blue Lives Matter, this is a very controversial statement. Like before Jimmy Fallon went on stage in blackface, he probably thought like, I'm going to get a lot of laughs tonight, but like didn't think that people would be mad at him. Yeah. Like Drew Brees probably knew some people were going to be mad at him. So that does make it worse.
I think the bar raises with change.
Yeah.
And I think this is as important time as ever to note that we are three people with a lot of privilege. And so us forgiving Jimmy Fallon or forgiving anyone who's done this stuff means very little, or not forgiving him, because I don't know if I personally have ever been a subject to someone's aggressions like that. Like Blue Lives Matter doesn't like affect me the way it affects black people, you know, and like how anyone of color, and how that can basically, I mean, there are people who've been through experiences that have been targeted that in a way that I haven't. So I'm not here to say that Jimmy Fallon, I'm giving my perspective on the Jimmy Fallon thing. You know, we're all giving our perspective on the Jimmy Fallon thing or whatever thing we continue to talk about. But who knows, like if you're someone who's subject to this stuff, if you've been killed, if you've had a family member or friend or just someone targeted because of an attribute that you share, and they've been killed that way or subjugated that way or marginalized that way, maybe you're probably less willing to forgive a Jimmy Fallon, right?
And that's another element of the people who are canceling. Like the people on social media come from all different places. There are people who say Drew Brees says Blue Lives Matter. There are some people of color who have directly experienced police brutality and maybe have lost someone to police, who see Drew Brees saying that, someone of influence, and go, like, that is so deeply wrong. Like that just rings so many bells to them, where they're like, they have such a convincing sound that is wrong. Whereas someone else maybe someone of privilege who's like a Saints fan is just seeing that and be like, oh, like he just said some words and it doesn't really mean that much. Like you have all these different elements, all these different levels of this is serious versus this is a small thing combined together.
Yeah. And there's so many dimensions to it. Like there's, I don't know, give group A of people who's very willing to ostracize. We're going to keep using Jimmy Fallon because my brain doesn't expand beyond that. I was willing to ostracize Jimmy Fallon, but then there's a group who has the same values but knows Jimmy Fallon personally.
Yeah.
You know? And they have the same values as group A who quickly ostracize him, but they are going to be much quicker to forgive Jimmy Fallon because they know him really well. Like a juxtapose the person you're willing to be like, you're done, versus your friend doing that thing, and how much more context plays into that, and how much more it would affect their life to ostracize them publicly. There's that kind of context. Then there's obviously your individual values that play into it, and like whether or not you agree with what cancel culture is. And then there's how much you know about the situation. There's that dimension. Is like, did you see that it was trending on Twitter and you jumped on and threw out a hashtag to also join in that?
Was that Demi? Or no, that was Demi.
The
one with the fake account.
Yeah, it can't. It was like Demi is over party or something like that.
Yeah. Who was attacking Selena Gomez?
But it wasn't her in the end.
In the end, okay.
I think that's what we read. Once again, we don't know.
Yeah, I have no
we don't
idea.
know about it. But in that example, like you're saying, E, as far as the viewers know, it was a fake account, and people were jumped on it.
And I think a takeaway from this would be like, sometimes shit isn't fair. Like, say that wasn't her. Say she didn't have the account and people still attacked her. Sure, that was wrong. That sucked. But, you know, shit happens to people, and you could wallow in sorrow and complain about how shit isn't fair, or you could just come back and prove to everyone that like that's not you. So I think a lot of this is like, you can get canceled, you can get called out for something, but just it's not that big of a deal. Like, keep going and keep perfecting yourself, because life isn't just about being easy. It's about constantly improving on yourself and being the best that you can and showing that to everyone else. And there's a reason why these people are in the spotlight and they're subjected to criticism from everyone else.
Yeah. And it's so hard because like there's like a formula to it. It's like, it's when the offense happened times how your apology sounds times how you act going forward. It's like this, it's a complex conversation. And it's how bad it was when it happened versus times the time, like the threshold at the time. So if you look back and you're looking at the Jimmy Fallon thing, like right now that is obviously bad. So a lot of people look at it from the frame as like, if Jimmy did that today, is it bad? And yes, it is. And which means theoretically that it's always been bad.
You know what I'm starting to criticize myself for?
Can we all be perfect?
Like how I said, like the vibe, when I said like the vibe back then is much different than it is now. I want to clarify that that's very much from me being a privileged white person's point of view. Like, for all I know,
your vibe,
like black people, when they saw Jimmy Fallon do that back then, could have been very upset. But, you know,
sure
white people are only paying attention now, and that's why it's a big deal, because white people care, because our society is run by white people, because we're all fucking racist. Not we're all racist, but you know what I mean.
That's another issue, and we're getting into grounds of where we can't really speak to that much.
Yeah, so I want to, for all the listeners out there, I understand that I don't think hypocrisy is the right word, but like the context in which I view things is from a very white and privileged lens. So please don't take anything that I say or we say out of context. We're speaking from our own understanding of what's happened in our own experiences.
And please tell us if we're wrong.
Yeah,
Like,
if we're
I wanna
wrong,
know if
correct
we're wrong.
us. If we're being rude, yeah.
We're all open to improving.
Well, there's never a good time to stop these conversations retrospectively, so I'll pick this one just as good as any other. This is actually going to be a 3-part series, and we're releasing all of them on the same day, trying something new, so you can consume them as is, but for new listeners, it's less to bite off, I guess, is the theory behind that. So thanks for listening, and part 2 is already out. Go check it out. Thanks.